All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. Thank you for joining me today. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So, do me a favor before we dive into these topics. If you end up enjoying the content or finding it informative, leave it a like. And if you are new here to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We are going to dive right into it here, starting with the first topic. We're talking about Spider Man 2's release date and how apparently the recent Suicide Squad delay may have happened because of when Spider Man 2 is apparently set to release. This is reading from PlayStation Lifestyle. They say the Spider Man 2 release date could have been one of the reasons behind the significant Suicide Squad delay announced on April 13th. The speculation comes from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who not only revealed that Spider Man 2 would apparently release in September of 2023, but agreed that Suicide Squad may have been pushed out of the holiday season this year to avoid competing with other game releases. Schreier responded to a fan who thought this extensive delay could have been due to the game with a November or December release date, given that February 2024 is a particularly interesting month for Suicide Squad to be pushed to. In a tweet, Schreier speculates that, quote, Spider-Man 2 in September could be a factor too, end quote. So to me, this is pretty interesting because we are getting Jason Schreier kind of chiming in here, talking about the September Spider-Man 2 release. For those who maybe are unaware or may have forgotten, the actor who plays Venom in Spider-Man 2, Tony Todd, he came out and he just casually revealed that Spider-Man 2 is apparently set to release this September. Now, we were all waiting on the supposed Suicide Squad delay, and a lot of people are finding themselves quite surprised by just how far back this game got pushed. It's not being delayed by a couple of months. It's being delayed by nearly a year. It's going to be coming out in February of 2024. So Jason Schreier is speculating that one of the main reasons for this, and one of the main reasons why Suicide Squad is not going to be a holiday title this year, is due to Spider-Man 2. And I gotta say, if I was WB, if I was Rocksteady, I would be in agreement. I would not want to launch my superhero game, especially one like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that has not gotten the best reception so far, anywhere near Spider-Man 2. We are moving on to the next topic, though, and this is a very quick one I just want to put in here. The release trailer, or the launch trailer, I should say, for Horizon Burning Shores was officially revealed by Guerrilla Games. And I want to encourage all of you to go check this trailer out if you haven't already. It's insane. It's one of the best looking games ever made, and you can tell that Guerrilla is pushing it just a little bit further here with what they're doing with this DLC in terms of visuals. And it's going to be at 60 frames per second. Actually, you can play it up to 120 frames per second if you like, with VRR enabled. But yes, the latest Burning Shores trailer is out. It's coming out in just a couple days, so let me know if you're planning on playing it. Moving on from that, I just want to briefly talk about Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is apparently still set to release on PS5 in 2023, which is interesting because we're in the middle of April now and we haven't seen anything of this game. It says here, once again from PlayStation Lifestyle, Remedy has confirmed that Alan Wake 2's release date is still on schedule for 2023, despite the lack of news we've had on the game since last year. The brief mention came amidst the reveal of a new logo for the company, as well as assurances there will be more games to come in the coming years. The last we heard about Alan Wake 2 was in Remedy's most recent financial results report in February, where the CEO said the game was in full production and would soon have all content in place and is playable from start to finish. Remedy has said that they would go dark to continue to work on the game at the end of 2021, and it seems like Alan Wake 2 is still on track for a 2023 release date, despite the lack of public updates. And so, yeah, it's interesting to see that Remedy has changed their logo. It's been quite some time. I like the look of their new logo, but to me, the real interesting story here is the fact that Alan Wake 2 is apparently not getting delayed. This is going to be a game that comes out later this year. Now, look, with Alan Wake 2, Remedy has made it clear this is them going for full-blown survival horror. This is going to be their first take at full-blown survival horror. That gets me very interested. Alan Wake 2 is a game that I and very much looking forward to. Moving on from that, I just want to give a quick update on Death Stranding 2. Nothing major here, but it seems that Hideo Kojima is hard at work on Death Stranding 2 as they are filming some scenes for the game. He's been posting about this over on his Twitter account, and he's with all of the superstars, right? He's with Norman Reedus, everybody's there, and they're in the middle of just recording all these scenes. So it tells me that Death Stranding 2 is still quite a ways away, but it does also give me some hope since he's sharing this publicly that maybe we're going to be getting a new Death Stranding 2 trailer in the coming weeks. There is the rumored PlayStation Showcase. I could see that being a place where we get a new trailer for Death Stranding 2 potentially, but yeah, work on this game is well underway. Moving on to the next topic, anybody who has been very disappointed to hear about all the negative news regarding PlayStation VR 2, you might be happy about this topic. This is coming from Push Square, and the title says PSVR 2 sales may actually be stronger than what has been suggested. Earlier in the month, a Bloomberg report citing analysis from IDC's Francisco Geronimo, a crazy name there, suggested that PSVR 2 was off to a slow start and would need a price cut to avoid, quote, complete disaster, end quote. This prompted plenty of wringing from enthusiasts who pointed to many perceived problems with the product, including its cost, software selection, and lack of backwards compatibility. More context suggests that the headset may not be off to the same dismal start as what has been reported. However, Bloomberg anticipates that the PSVR 2 sold between 270K and 300K units from launch through the end of March, which would actually make it the fastest selling wired headset ever released. In fact, it took PlayStation VR 1 5 months to reach 915,000 units, while PSVR 2 may have managed a third of that in just one. Now, the danger here is that sales could slow to a crawl, especially when it's only available from PS Direct in many major territories. It's also worth noting that the 270K to 300K figure is an estimate and hasn't been confirmed by the Japanese giant. We may learn more about PSVR 2's actual install base during the company's next earnings call. Regardless of whether the headset has started slow or strong, we still think the organization needs to show more of its hand and outline what kind of software we can look forward to for the device in the coming months. So, yeah, that's the thing. Some journalists are now out here gathering data and pointing out that, yeah, there's been a lot of doom and gloom regarding PSVR 2, but it turns out it's actually not nearly as bad as what some are suggesting. It is true that the sales could, as it says, slow down to a complete crawl, and we'll have to see. But, it's just something that I thought was worth mentioning here because I've been pretty down on PSVR 2, I have to admit, but I have said over and over again that it's just simply too early to tell whether or not this headset's actually going to be a failure or a success. Moving on to the next topic, we have in my opinion, significant update on the long rumored Metal Gear Solid 3 remake for PS5. Apparently, a voice actress slash singer is teasing work on Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Being reported by PS Lifestyle, Metal Gear singer and voice actress Donna Burke appears to be teasing her involvement in the rumored Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Burke posted a photo of herself with the caption, "Recording in progress," holding a Snake Eater card. Like the new Silent Hill games, MGS3 Snake Eater's remake is one of Konami's worst kept secrets. Rumors about the project have been circulating online for a number of years, with credible leakers and insiders claiming to have heard that a Snake Eater remake is indeed in the works alongside other Metal Gear projects. It certainly doesn't help that the rumored remake's alleged developer, Virtuos, not only lists Konami as one of its clients, but its developers' LinkedIn profiles also mention an unannounced remake. Coincidence? Fans think not. So it's also worth noting here, it says that in case the tweet of Donna Burke disappears, an internet sleuth zoomed in on one of the recording booth photos posted by Burke and found a sheet that contains the lyrics to Metal Gear Solid 3's theme. And so that's going out to Zone X. So shout out to Zone X for finding that. And yeah, she was definitely teasing Metal Gear Solid 3, and she did the, famous theme song, Snake Eater, which is awesome. And it seems like they want her to re-record it for the remake. So Guys, the reveal and the announcement of this Metal Gear Solid 3 remake seems to be right around the corner. But we are going to move on to the final topic. A U.S. senator asks Sony's CEO to reveal PlayStation's game exclusivity deals. This is being reported by VGC. A U.S. senator has written an open letter to Sony's CEO requesting information on the company's game exclusivity deals. North Dakota Republican Senator Kevin Kramer says he sent the letter to CEO Kenichiro Yoshida, quote, regarding its anti-competitive behavior and to request information on the company's acquisition agreements, end quote. I just want to chime in here for a moment. I find this laughable right out of the gate because the last major acquisition, and again, keyword being major acquisition that Sony made, was Bungie. And Sony and Bungie made it completely clear, as transparent as they could possibly be, no exclusivity. No Bungie titles are going to be exclusive. Just putting that out there. But apparently that's not good enough for this U.S. senator. So it continues by saying, in the letter, originally spotted by Axios, Kramer tells Yoshida that he was writing, quote, to express concern about Sony's efforts to protect its gaming console business from competition, end quote. He goes on to claim, quote, I am concerned Sony's dominance of the market and its efforts to perpetuate its current position imperils an important economic development opportunity for North Dakota, end quote. Continues by saying Kramer states that North Dakota has developed a strategy to lead the nation in computer science and cybersecurity education, and that, quote, preparing students for careers in gaming is an important component of this effort, end quote. Given the growing significance of the gaming industry to North Dakota, Kramer says, I am troubled by reports. Sony appears to leverage its covenants to exclude competition rather than enabling choice for players and developers. Sounds like it's coming right out of Microsoft's mouths. He adds, increasingly, it appears Sony's dominance is attributable to exclusionary practices, including paying game publishers not to distribute their games on rival platforms. He goes on to claim that Sony's attempt to oppose Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard is an example of its, quote, anti-competitive conduct, end quote. That's a doozy right there. That one's a doozy right there. Apparently, what Sony is saying and what Sony's doing is contributing to their anti-competitive conduct by trying to stop this Activision Blizzard deal. Man, that's sorry. I just got to take that one in. Continues by saying it's even more troubling that Sony is lobbying the FTC and other regulators began shortly after Sony itself acquired Bungie. Kramer ends his letter by asking Yoshida for unredacted copies of, and this is the order it's listed, all agreements that give Sony an exclusive right to distribute a third-party game, all agreements between Sony and third-party publishers that prevent them from releasing their games on the other systems, all internal company documents, quote, describing the strategic rationale, end quote, for Sony's decision to acquire Bungie. This is okay. So they're actually name-dropping Bungie here. All correspondence with U.S. government and regulatory agencies relating to video game competition. And the article finishes out by saying Kramer's letter makes him the latest U.S. member of Congress to accuse Sony of engaging in anti-competitive behavior. Last month, 2 letters, one from Republican members of Congress, the others from 6 Democrats, accused Sony of deliberately making exclusivity deals with third-party publishers to ensure Xbox doesn't gain a foothold in Japan. The letters called on U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai and Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo to raise the issue with Japan during trade talks. Both letters claimed that by not acting on these alleged anti-competitive practices, Japan is effectively putting a U.S. company, that being Microsoft, at a disadvantage. Sony has secured a number of third-party titles as PlayStation console exclusives over the years, some of which have come from Japanese publishers. One of the most notable examples of this is the company's ties with Square Enix with the Final Fantasy titles, of course. So, yeah. Apparently, it's not stopping. The pressure's not stopping when it comes to the number of senators that are pressuring Sony to come out here and divulge this information. And I think it's kind of wild. Like, I think it's wild that Microsoft can just straight up eat up Bethesda and make their future titles exclusive, rip them away from the PlayStation console and ecosystem completely. Potentially games like The Elder Scrolls and obviously a game like Starfield. But yet senators are coming out here and they are pressuring Sony's exclusivity practices. they're going as far to make claims that Sony trying to stop this acquisition is actually further proof of their anti-competitive conduct, while just simultaneously ignoring the potential long-term ramifications of Microsoft acquiring an entity like Activision Blizzard. But sure, I guess it kind of makes a little bit of sense. They mentioned Bungie again. I find it laughable that they're bringing up Bungie because it's like Sony couldn't have been more clear what their stance was with future Bungie games. They literally said they're all going to release on Xbox. They're never going to be exclusive. They couldn't be more clear about it. It's worth noting, as it says here at the end of this article, it says that this is what we've seen from other members of Congress, both Democratic and Republican. It's worth noting that almost all of these Congress people, they share something in common, and that is most of them, if not, I don't think it's all of them, but most of them, their biggest funder, their biggest donor is, you guessed it, Microsoft. So yeah, we should definitely listen to what these guys have to say. Definitely no bias there, right? But that does it, guys. That does it for the news section of this video. So be sure to let me know your thoughts. But now I'm going to head over to the stream, and I'm going to head over to you guys, see what the conversation is. So yeah, as you can, I'm sure you're aware, this is a different type of content that I'm doing here. I'm now talking directly to the stream, to my audience. I'm opening up the chat here. I got a couple super chats. I'm going to read them in just a minute. This is a new type of content that I'm thinking about trying out here. I'm calling it Hype or Rant with MBG, where basically we're going to go over news topics, and by the time I'm finished going through all of them, I'm going to determine whether or not they're hype, like they're getting me hyped, they're getting you hyped, whether or not it's something that I feel like I want to rant about. But it's not necessarily just always going to be hype or rant. I'm also sometimes going to just say it's meh, right? Like, I don't really feel the need to rant. I don't feel hyped about it. It's just meh. And I have a feeling a lot of news stories will fall into that category. But you're saying, why not hype or L? Yeah, I guess there will be the occasional L as well, right? But it's just usually L's, for me anyway, are associated with ranting, right? So yeah, this is like a new type of format that I'm considering, only because a lot of you guys have been telling me how much you have enjoyed the streams, and this type of content may work out, it may not work out, but I figured it's worth a try. And so it's worth noting that, as you can tell, the first 20 minutes of this stream, or 15 minutes or so, I'm basically just doing the format that I would normally do in my videos. That's because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut out this section of the stream and just upload it as a regular news video for those who don't like to tune into the streams, for those who don't care about the long form content. But it seems that there is an audience here. There are enough people who like tuning into my streams, like hanging out, like talking enough, that I think that this could work out. And so if you guys want to help support what I do here, I figured I'd just mention this now. As you know, super chats, I always appreciate the super chats. I'm going to read these super chats in just a moment. If you want to continue to help out, you can become a channel member. Something that I've been trying to push out a little bit more here are gifted channel memberships. It's worth noting that you cannot gift a channel membership if you are not yet a channel member. So I'm going to start pushing channel memberships. The reason why I want to do this is because, honestly, I'm going to need a little bit more support from my audience. If you guys are willing to give that support, there's no need to feel pressured. But I want, like I said, if I'm going to try to do this every day, really kind of up the amount of content that I'm going to be putting out, some extra support will be needed over time. There's no doubt about that. So obviously, I'm going to be pushing that. And if you're able to, if it's within your means and it's something you want to do, consider super chatting, consider becoming a channel member. And if you are already a channel member, I want you to seriously consider gifting channel memberships, okay? That's something that will really help out the channel tremendously. If you are a channel member, consider gifting those channel memberships, because it's an awesome feature that finally Sony is Sony's responsible. No, YouTube is responsible for finally implementing this. So I'm going to read these super chats first and foremost. Josh Z, you're saying, again, we see the difference between Sony/Nintendo and Microsoft, the ability to create instant hype. This is a brutal 1-2 punch. Will anyone talk about Xbox, or will Zelda and Final Fantasy 16 rule summer game of the year? I'll tell you, people will, like myself and many others, will talk about Xbox, but it's not going to be good. Mostly. Well, you know what? Let me rephrase that. Over the summer, if there's going to be positive talk about Xbox, it's going to come in the form of they put on a showcase, they showed off some Starfield. That's probably going to get people talking positively, especially if they have a good showcase. But when it comes to like Redfall being the game that's launching around Final Fantasy 16 and Zelda, yeah, not going to happen. Not going to happen. People are going to absolutely destroy Redfall. People have been destroying Redfall, rightfully so. And I have more I want to say about Redfall that we will talk about tomorrow, because I still am going to be streaming tomorrow. Saying MBG begged for competition. Hey, man, I'm all for the competition. So thank you for that, Josh. It's Jacoby saying, bro, will you stream Burning Shores? I'd like to see your reactions. I'm actually unsure of that yet. The chances of me streaming Burning Shores, very, very, very low. In fact, I'm at a point where I don't know when exactly I'm going to get around to playing Burning Shores. I think it looks great. I'm hyped that other people are hyped to play it. I think it looks insane. Like, I watched this launch trailer of Horizon, and it looks absolutely incredible. Like, what's crazy to me is how people are, I'm going to be honest, I think people are almost beginning to take for granted just how damn good Sony's games look. And I don't mean, to look, I don't mean to make it sound like Sony's the best and everything Sony does graphically is the best and nobody can compete. Nothing like that. But it's just, dude, go check out. I'm not going to bring it up right now, but go check out that launch trailer for Horizon Burning Shores. It looks staggering. It looks like CG, dude. It really does. So, the reason why I'm not sure if I'm going to play Burning Shores when it comes out in a couple days is because, honestly, the next game I'm planning on booting up and really diving into is Dead Island 2. I can't help it. I am a sucker. For those types of games. I love zombie games. And Dead Island 2, I don't know, man. It looks a lot better than I anticipated it would end up looking like. So I will hopefully get around to the Burning Shores DLC. I will hopefully get around to it. But I will say the one thing I struggle with DLC, is when DLC comes out much later after I already beat a game and I'm kind of finished with it. It's really, really, really difficult for me to want to go back to a game that I pretty much have forgotten how to play and dive deep into it to get ready for the DLC or to play that DLC. And unfortunately, that's the thing. The fact that this isn't a standalone DLC, it does make it a lot harder for me. It does make it a lot harder. Fireax, you're saying one take, MBG. Very impressive to do this in one go. Well, thank you so much, man. I have to admit, I was very nervous about that. I was very, very nervous about that, Fireax, and I'm glad it worked out well. Henry 3K, thank you for becoming a member. Aaron Yogurt, huge shout out to you, Aaron. I see you, buddy. I appreciate that. Aaron Yogurt has gifted 5 memberships. I think that this is the most amount of gifted memberships I've seen on the channel so far. And Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, you already gifted one other membership the other day. So that's awesome. So we have 5 new members. Let's see. Fireax was gifted a membership. Sergeant was gifted a membership. We have Big Turbo 2.0 on IG and Left Central Gaming, all gifted memberships. Thank you guys so much. That's all. See, this is what I'm trying to establish here on the channel. I want to get people used to, I want to get the members used to growing the actual channel, growing the memberships themselves. It's extremely helpful. So if you are a newly gifted member, if you want to pay it forward, if you want to keep the train going, you consider doing that. So I really appreciate it, man. Thank you, Aaron. Trying to set the tone here. Oh yeah, and here's something else I want to mention to my chat, because this is something that I haven't been pushing on the channel nearly enough. You do have to turn on the ability to be gifted a super chat. This is incredibly important for me to stress because I haven't talked about it on the channel and a lot of people might not know about it. If you look at the chat when you see a new channel member or you see that somebody has gifted channel memberships, click on that notification at the top and it will give you the option. If you are already a member, it will give you the option to gift memberships yourself. But most importantly, if you are not a member and you do not have it turned on, it will ask you if you want to turn on the ability to be gifted a membership. So be sure to do that if you don't already have that setting turned on. I would really appreciate it. Yeah, Unknown is in the chat saying he didn't have it turned on. So yeah, that's something I'm going to have to continue to push as well and to make people aware of, because I don't know how many people do or do not have that option turned on. But if it's not turned on, you simply cannot be gifted a channel membership. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And yeah, Fyrax, just to get back to your super chat for a minute, I appreciate that you enjoyed me going through the news in one take, because here's the thing. When I do my separate like news video recordings, it's definitely not one take. And I think that I think that doing it live, it adds like a certain, I don't want to say it's not pressure, but just knowing that it's live, it feels like, okay, I got to get this right. Got to get this in one take. It's obviously not a big deal if I screw it up. You know, nobody's going to care. But when I am doing my my normal video recordings, it's definitely not one take. I'm doing like a bunch of different takes, and I'm being like overly critical of myself. And I think sometimes it actually it loses a bit of a flow because I'm trying to cut it up. So yeah, I'm gonna test this out, see how it goes. And again, like the thing that I think is going to be really interesting is when people tune into the show, you're going to know, like if you're tuning in at the beginning, you're getting the news from me. You're just getting the straight news that I would normally talk about that day in a video. And then after that, I'm going to hang out with the chat, talk with you guys. Because again, there's an audience here that clearly enjoys it, and I enjoy it as well. And then for anybody who doesn't like that, right? For anybody who's like, dude, I miss your news videos. I like just clicking on the 10, 15-minute long news videos. You're still going to get that. You're still going to get that. So yeah, so thank you for that, Fyrax. Daniel, you're saying, I really enjoy your content, bro. There's an indie game called Dredge for $40, which is a badass game and addictive. You're not the first person to mention that. You're not the first person to mention that. I've seen Dredge advertised on the PlayStation Store a couple of times. I haven't looked into it too deeply. Maybe I'll have to. Saying it's $40. Interesting. That's usually like the higher end for an indie game. Like if I see an indie game priced at $40, I do expect it to be pretty close to AAA, right? Because it's only $20-$30 less than a AAA game. So maybe I'll have to check that out, man. And I appreciate that you enjoy the content, man. Really means a lot to me. And so we're now going to move on to the hype or rant section of the stream. And it's funny because I was talking to my wife. I'm like, what should we, like, if I'm going to make a new show of some kind, what should I name it? And she was the one who came up with the hype or rant thing. And I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense because that's pretty much what I'm known for on the channel, right? Like I'm known for either being the hype man. I'm like super, super excited for something, super hyped up, or I'm known for being ranty and losing my mind and, and yelling and screaming. And look, again, I'm titling the show Hype or Rant. There might be shows where there isn't much hype. There might be shows where there isn't much ranting. All right. So do you have a Discord group for everyone? I tried to do a Discord. It didn't work out. Maybe in the future, I'll get back into it. I couldn't properly manage it. I struggled with it. It felt overwhelming to me, frankly. And it stressed me out. So I decided, you know what? I'm not going to do Discord yet. Or at least I'm not ready to do it yet. If I ever change my mind, I'll let you guys know, obviously. And my first go with it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So we'll see. We'll see where it ends up going. Okay, hype or rant. Basically, what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to recap the news I just read to you guys, but I'm going to go through each topic and determine, like, is this hype? Is this rant worthy? Or is this just meh? So let's start out with Spider-Man 2's release date. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. According to Jason Schreier, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League got delayed to February of next year. A game that was supposed to come out next month got delayed to February of next year. And Jason Schreier saying a big factor in that is likely due to Spider-Man 2 coming out in September. I feel like right now I'm leaning more towards both hype and rant. Okay? The reason being is, number one, I am hyped for Spider-Man 2. I am hyped that Spider-Man 2 is so close. It's coming out in September, right? There's really no reason to even need to say it. We're hyped for Spider-Man 2. But where the rant comes in is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'll be honest, I feel like I got to rant just a little bit in saying that, what do they think they're going to achieve with this game by delaying it by nearly a year? What do they think they're going to achieve? They have been developing this game for like over 7 years. It had an extremely underwhelming presentation that a lot of people were looking at it just shaking their head. I don't know what they think they're going to change. I mean, maybe they can remove the online only requirement. I saw that was something that was coming out, but it's like, look, I think this game is DOA. I think this game is DOA. I don't think it's gonna just turn around. I don't think that come February 2024 when I'm assuming they'll show the game before that again. I don't think they're gonna come out and say, we've completely changed this game, guys. It's a third-person shooter. That's what the game is. It's a third-person shooter with live service elements. What I think they're probably going to be able to do, or try to do, and what they're going to do is, with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, between now and its release in February of next year, they're going to try to remove those live service elements as best they can to basically market it as a single-player experience, which is what they should have done from the start. So, yeah, for this topic in particular, it's both a little bit of hype and a little bit of rant. The next topic, obviously, Horizon Burning Shores. If it wasn't obvious when I was talking about it in the news segment, I'm hyped for just how good this game looks. I'm hyped for the fact that it's 60 FPS. 60 FPS, yes. A game that looks that good on the PS5, 60 FPS. That's an obvious hype, okay? Moving on from that, Alan Wake 2. Gotta be honest, I want... it's tough, man. It's tough. Like, I want to say hype. I want to say hype for Alan Wake 2. The only thing that's making it difficult to say hype, I'm certainly nowhere near rant. The reason why I'm leaning more towards meh is simply because we haven't seen the game yet. That's the thing. Like, I'm hyped for the fact that apparently this game is done and will come out this year. I'm hyped for everything this game is apparently going to be. The only reason it's difficult for me to really just give it that stamp of just, hype 100%, approved is because I need to see the game first. You know what I mean? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Like, this is different from Spider-Man 2. We have a very good idea of what to expect with Spider-Man 2. It's easy to get hyped. With a game like Alan Wake 2, I haven't seen much of it yet. Don't know that we can get too hyped. So I'm going to give it a meh with it's above average meh, which can very easily be converted into hype. Okay. Kevin G, a member for 3 months, you're saying, rant, Xbox being the most powerful 30 FPS machine, baby. I own all three, by the way. Hashtag Redfall of Frames. Hashtag Starfield of Delays. Hype, Spider-Man 2, and Zelda TOTK. Well said, man. I mean, I'll be honest. At this point, in my opinion, everything is riding. Everything is riding on Starfield. It's clear that Redfall's not going to be doing the heavy lifting for Microsoft. Which is, again, this is why I don't understand why they're not willing to delay it. Redfall's not going to do the heavy lifting. It never was going to do the heavy lifting. Just delay the game. Get it where it needs to be. Next up, Hideo Kojima. Developing Death Stranding 2, getting together with all of his superstar friends. Troy Baker, Norman Reedus, and a bunch of the Elle Fanning, and a bunch of the other actors and actresses whose names I can't recall. But they're in the middle of filming all their stuff for Death Stranding 2. Is it hype? Is it meh? Is it rant? It's obviously hype. It's obviously hype. I mean, I'm a huge Kojima fan. You know this. I love Death Stranding 1, and we got that Death Stranding 2 trailer. Yes, and that's the thing. Kojima's been hanging out with Jordan Peele a lot, dude. A lot. I'm not going to be surprised if we find out Jordan Peele has something to do with this game. So yeah, Kojima, knee deep in his development of Death Stranding 2, recording some of the scenes we're going to see in the final game. Yep, that's hype. That's hype for me. And another reason why it's hype is because it's cool to kind of see him taking the behind the scenes photos and just seeing how it's being made. I like that. Next up, PSVR 2 sales may actually be doing better than what the media and others are, how they're trying to make it seem. For me, this is a meh. I mean, I could easily go into a rant by basically saying that it's clear that there's like some type of there is an agenda out there with a certain group of people that want to see PSVR 2 fail and die. You know, they are completely indifferent to all other VR headsets, but because this VR headset has PlayStation on it, they want to see it die. They want to see it fail. And you already know who I'm talking about. But the thing is, I don't know that it's worth ranting yet because we need hard data, right? We need hard data. So right now, for me, this is more of a meh, where it's, there's some negative headlines. People are trying to run with it. They're trying to make it seem like it's all doom and gloom. It's all downhill from here. And then you're naturally going to have people who come out to defend it, who say you're jumping to conclusions way too soon. And so I'm landing in the middle on this one. Once we get some hard data, once we start to see Sony, really get behind it a little bit more than they are right now, I think, I think it'll be a lot easier to determine whether this is going to be a rant or not. Next topic in line, Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. Clearly happening. Donna Burke singing the theme, re-recording the theme of Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, or for Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. Absolutely hype. Absolutely, like, it doesn't even need to be said. You already know. Like, that's hype. It's happening. We are getting close. And she's clearly teasing. It wouldn't surprise me if she ends up having to take that tweet down, because it's going to garner more attention as time goes on. And I've seen so many haters, so many doubters. And don't get me wrong, there's a difference between a doubter and a hater. Haters are just haters, right? Like, they suck. But doubters, I get it. We've been hearing about Metal Gear Solid it's been years now. So I totally understand if you're somebody who's like, dude, I'll believe it when I see it. I will believe it when I see it. I totally understand. That's completely fair. It's been a long time coming. And so for me personally, though, I'm hype. I'm a believer. It's happening. And I think it's going to happen very, very soon. So extremely excited about that. Now, the final topic, U.S. Senator pressing Sony. U.S. Senators demanding Sony's CEO, Kenichiro Yoshida, you need to share all of your details, my friend, about your third-party exclusivity deals. I'm a senator. I'm a U.S. senator. You must do this because you are engaging in anti-competitive behavior. Now, this is obvious. This is obviously a rant, okay? I think it's utterly ridiculous that this is something that we are continuing to see. First off, Sony, don't do anything. Don't do shit. Do not turn around and reveal anything, because who cares what this U.S. senator has to say? This is unbelievable that we are continuing to witness Microsoft and the people that they are clearly, obviously paying, literally paying, to put this pressure on Sony, to try to get these headlines written, to try to make Sony look bad. You got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. I think it's just wild. It's just wild to me that Microsoft is a company that has engaged in anti-competitive behavior throughout the decades. They've been accused of some of the worst stuff. They've had to pay some of the biggest fines. But these senators are siding with Microsoft and trying to put their foot to the throat of Sony. And the worst thing that I've seen too, and to me this is the worst. Like, I can't even fathom that this is a thing. This is why politics are a joke, dude. They're actually out here trying to blame Sony for Microsoft's failure in Japan. Sony, it's your fault. It's your fault that Xbox can't succeed in Japan. No, you dumbasses who are paid by Microsoft. It is Microsoft's fault that they cannot succeed in Japan, that they will not succeed in Japan. Okay? Just like it's Microsoft's fault that they failed in the traditional home console space. Okay? It's Microsoft's fault that they are in a position where the only way they can quote unquote compete, right, is by buying publishers. That's Microsoft's fault. These politicians are actually out here trying to shit on Sony for just doing a good fucking job. So what do? They run to the one thing that they feel like, the only thing that they feel like they can. Well, you pay for third-party exclusivity. I'm sorry. Does Microsoft not do that? Go ahead. I know I saw somebody in this chat earlier. Somebody in this chat earlier listed all of the third-party timed exclusives that Microsoft has. So please, chat, help me out here. Let's list some of these timed exclusives, because apparently it's just Sony that engages in this anti-competitive behavior. Arc 2, Stalker. I think it's Stalker 2, right? Dude, there's a game that my wife wants to play. Slime Rancher 2. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's the biggest game. I'm not trying to compare Slime Rancher 2 to Final Fantasy 16. But that game was paid for by Microsoft to not release on PlayStation, and it's an Xbox exclusive. That's one that's actually affected me and my wife. She was looking forward to that. Left 4 Dead 3. Well, Left 4 Dead 3 hasn't been announced quite yet. We'll see. That would be an interesting one. That would be huge if Microsoft locked down Left 4 Dead 3. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Yeah, that was a while ago, but they still did it. They tried and it didn't succeed, and they got all upset because people were like, "What are you doing, Microsoft?" Right? Because people weren't happy about that, man. The reason why people bitched and moaned about Microsoft deciding we're going to lock down Rise of the Tomb Raider as an exclusive at the time when they did, I think that was back in 2015, is because it was done at a time when like they were clearly failing and not doing good enough, and people were like, this is your answer to that? Like, your first party studios are not doing a great job. The games you're releasing are not good enough, so your answer is to just pay for, you know what I mean? Like, people were not happy about it. Tomb Raider, it's also worth noting that Tomb Raider has always been synonymous with PlayStation, and that didn't help. That definitely didn't help. But the reality is Microsoft partakes in this exact practice. They partake in the exact practice. And just because the games that Microsoft is locking down as timed exclusives aren't as big as, say, something like Final Fantasy 16 or Silent Hill 2 Remake, that's beside the point. It's the principle, because that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole thing. This entire thing, it's all about the principle. It's the principle of the fact that, well, you know, what Sony's doing, like, look, I have in the article right here, the bullet points that the senator lists, says, they want to know all the agreements between Sony and third-party publishers that prevent them from releasing their games on other systems. Why are you not asking Microsoft why they just bought Bethesda and decided to make it so that future games are not releasing on the competitor system? Games that were clearly going to. That just doesn't matter. Like, dude, these senators are actually trying to bring that dumbass argument forward where it's like, well, it's different if they own them. How is it different? This senator is supposed to be talking about from the consumer level, right? Like, we care about the consumer. This is anti-competitive. Dude, whether you're buying and owning a company to then make their games exclusive or paying that company to make their games exclusive, at the end of the day, it's the same result for the consumer. It's the same result for the consumer. This is some of the dumbest stuff I've ever seen, man. Like, it's unbelievable that we are actually witnessing these senators come out here and try to to make to put this pressure on Sony on Microsoft's behalf. It's so obvious. It's painfully obvious. I hope Sony's throwing this shit in the garbage because that's where it belongs. I hope so. I hope Sony reads this from this senator, this North Dakota senator. Who is this? I hope Sony CEO Kenichiro Yoshida, when he reads Kevin Kramer's his call for Sony to you better reveal all your details about, you know what? I hope he throws that shit in the garbage. He's like, you know what? Let's sign even more exclusivity deals. Let's sign even more exclusivity deals. It's crazy. There was another line in here. There was another line with this write-up that really, it really was like, you got to be kidding me. Let me find it. I am troubled by reports that Sony appears to leverage. I think I think it was supposed to be dominance, but they put a C in here. This is what he says. He says, I'm troubled by reports that Sony appears to be leveraging its dominance to exclude competition rather than enabling choice for players and developers. Like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, dude. You've got, like, that is the most bullshit line I've ever read. like, meanwhile, Microsoft would never dare do a thing like that. Like, dude, please get the fuck out of here and don't come back. There's no way, dude. There's no way. All right, let me see here. That's the thing about these streams too, is I notice, like, that's the thing about the ranting, is once I start ranting, there's going to be a lot more swearing. Mark Loven, you're saying, I can't keep up with all your streams. Still streaming tomorrow. Yes, I will be streaming tomorrow. I've never played a Final Fantasy, but I'm picking up 16. Looks awesome. Well, it's all good, man. I'm just glad you can tune into some of my streams, or if you want to watch them later when they're finished being live. I really appreciate that. And yeah, dude, you're not the only one. I've seen a lot of people expressing a lot of interest in Final Fantasy 16. People who traditionally wouldn't really be interested in it, right? You're saying the lighting looks better. Yeah, it's because I'm not actually using natural light at this point, so I'm glad it looks a little bit better. But yeah, dude, a lot of people hyped for Final Fantasy 16. But I don't know, man. That Final Fantasy 16 game, Sony's engaging in some anti-competitive behavior. How dare Sony? How dare they? How dare they lock down Final Fantasy 16 as an exclusive for PS5? They should be buying publishers. That's the only way it's fair. Doesn't Sony know? Unless you're going to buy Square Enix, unless you're going to own Final Fantasy, that's the only time it's justifiable for it to be exclusive. That's the only way. Even though that's just never been applicable to the gaming industry, literally ever. Literally ever. But suddenly it's applicable now. Okay. Perfect Image, you're saying, why U.S. senators in this if Xbox architecture can't compete with Sony architecture of consoles? It's unfair that PlayStation knows how to build for the devs and Xbox can't. Yeah, why? Yeah, good point, Perfect Image. Why aren't the U.S. senators getting on Microsoft's ass? Sorry, Microsoft, weren't you the one that that marketed your console as the world's most powerful? I mean, it's practically false advertising at this point. To then come out and say, sorry, our new game can't even launch with a 60 FPS performance mode. How come? Let's not say anything about that, right? Like, this is where it is mind-boggling to me that Microsoft is so focused on getting these headlines written up. They're so focused. Microsoft is here's one for you. Here's one for you. Microsoft is more focused on getting nonsensical bullshit headlines like this written up that make Sony look bad than they are about the customers who bought their fucking console. They're less worried about their customers who paid for their console. They have said nothing, not a single word about this whole situation with Redfall and how upset their console user base clearly is. They've said nothing. But they have no problem paying copious amounts of money to these U.S. senators to leverage that and say, yeah, do you think you could go complain about Sony for us so we can get those headlines written up, apply some pressure. This is why, dude, this is why I am just so sick and tired of seeing people actually come out here and root for Microsoft as if they are a good company. Like, I get if you want to call Sony out for their practices and you look at Sony and you say, well, I don't know that Sony is the most pro-consumer, and I don't know that, that they've engaged in some, like, of course, dude, Sony has not made it, they have not hid the fact that they are a cutthroat business that wants to win. That's normal. They're not going to hide that. They're not going to lie about that, at least not in this way. It's pretty obvious, right? Like, they're not trying to hide the fact that they want to be number one. They care about being number one, and they're going to do whatever they feel that they need to do to try to be number one. What really bothers me the most about this is just how much people want to apparently be blinded to the fact that, like, dude, Microsoft is even worse. They're even worse. But it's cool, right? Because it's like, as long as they're giving me a good deal on Game Pass, I don't care how shitty they are. Well, you might want to care a little bit, because that might come back and bite you in the ass in the long run. Yeah, so this one's definitely a rant. Definitely a rant. Gavin, you're saying Microsoft's second biggest site is in the Senator's state. Of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah, that's what gets me. Like, people actually think that these trillion-dollar companies are, they want to befriend you. They just want to give you the best deal. They want to take less money from you, not more. They're not greedy. These trillion-dollar companies, they're not greedy, because we all know you become a trillion-dollar corporation by not being greedy. That's how that works. Dude, these guys are a joke, bro. These guys are a joke. Josh, you're saying something about this PSVR 2 negative press from major outlets seems so calculated, especially after finding out it's the second fastest selling headset in history. PSVR 2 already outsold other headsets. It does seem calculated, doesn't it? And it sounds a bit conspiratorial, like, oh, who's out to get Sony? But you know what the reality is, man? I don't think it's all that. I don't think, like, at least with PSVR 2, I don't think it's like conspiratorial in the sense that, people are calculating how exactly they're going to spin this. I think it starts with one person with an axe to grind with Sony, right? Like, one person who has an axe to grind with Sony. They spin it into a negative, and then from that point forward, people don't ask questions. They don't look at the data. They don't come to their own conclusions. They just listen. They just, they're sheep. They just say, well, I was told it's doing really bad, so I guess it failed, right? I saw my favorite Xbox content creator say that PSVR 2 is done. No one wants it. Well, I guess that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth, all right. Well, I saw that supposedly unbiased website report on it as well. Okay, now that I could kind of understand. You expect people to do their jobs, but that's the thing, man, is it took a report from Insider Gaming. It took a report from Insider Gaming, of all places, to basically come out and say, actually, when you look at the numbers, this is like the second fastest selling headset in history. How come that wasn't a headline? How come the fucking headline is, yeah, Sony's got to cut the price or this thing's doomed? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think there are multiple factors that work against PSVR 2, such as the price. I think it's more expensive than the console, right? The fact that you can't play it on PC. There are a lot of things working against it. But even with all those things working against it, and even with this being a soft launch, second fastest selling headset with the cord, right? Like, I'm not saying people should come out here and celebrate it like this is the greatest thing ever achieved in video game history. No. But why are people so quick and so ready to be like, see, it's dead. We told you. I've said over and over again, even with how much I doubt, right? I do have my own doubts, but I've said it over and over again. We cannot call it. It's like trying to call a football game in the first quarter. Doesn't matter how many mistakes are made in the first quarter. You cannot call the game. You cannot do it. You got to let the game play out. But no, people don't want to watch the game. They don't want to see the game unfold. They just want to call it. Not because they came to that conclusion, but because somebody else came to that conclusion for them, and they just want to regurgitate what they heard. Josh, again, you're saying whether it turns out to be a flop or not, it was refreshing to see PlayStation gamers excited about Firewall this week, not worrying if it's a flop. Yeah, I agree, man. That Firewall game looks really good. I think that could be a big deal for PSVR 2 if it reviews really well. If it reviews really well, and it gets good word of mouth as more PS5s are sold, maybe eventually the price of the PSVR 2 headset will go down. It could be a big deal. And if like Firewall, Resident Evil 4, PSVR 2, I'm telling you, like I know that there are things working against PSVR 2, but no one's willing seemingly to look at the things that maybe could work for it, right? At least those that are willing to do it, they get drowned out by the noise. This is why I'm saying, like, it may be a vocal minority, and I've said this over and over again. Like, people keep saying, like, oh, it's just a vocal minority. Yeah, it absolutely is. But goddamn, they're so loud. They're gaining influence, and they're getting headlines written up because of how loud they are and how vocal they are. And it gets to a point where no one cares anymore about what the truth really is. People just care about, well, what did the loudest person say? Because that's the only person I heard. That's the shit we got to stop. And I know the irony. Like, I'm out here yelling myself, but I'm not. Look, man, ain't no one writing headlines based off of anything I'm saying, because I'm not out here making those types of claims, right? I'm not the person who works for Bloomberg. Danny Smith, a member for 8 months. You're saying, hi, MBG. Happy to have followed you for so long. You are the best. Is the Discord still running? I can't find it. No, the Discord is not running. I appreciate it, though, man. As I said earlier in the stream, if I get another Discord going, I'll be sure to let everybody know. Right now, I do not have a Discord. But I'm glad you've been following, man. Really appreciate it. Saying I'm the best. I don't know if I'm the best, but hey, man, I really am flattered. Stephen Jones, you're saying the only reason I have a Series X is because at the time PS5s were hard to find. Next PS5 I see, it will be sitting by my TV. Sony has better games. Well, I mean, look, man, that's the thing is, like, I understand that a lot of people make a console purchase decision based off of the hype surrounding it. But I think a lot of times I think sometimes you gotta look at where the hype stems from, right? Like, I feel like with Xbox, the hype is completely centered around Game Pass. Whereas with PlayStation, the hype, as far as I can tell, is completely centered around the exclusive games. And with Game Pass, it's not so much about the quality of the games. I'm not saying they don't have high quality games on Game Pass. They probably do have some high quality games on Game Pass. But the whole notion is that it's about the deal. It's about the value, right? It's about the value proposition, more so than just the sheer quality alone. And that's where it's like, I've never, like, to me, that's cool and all, and I get that, but that's not what appeals to me, personally. What appeals to me is, if something's going to be at a premium price, I'm going to give it a good look. As long as it's, like, within reason, right? Like, if it's affordable, if it's a premium price, and most importantly, if it's something I care deeply about. That's the most important thing. Like, there are a lot of, like, people who are they're just casual, and that's the thing that Game Pass tries to appeal to. The allure of Game Pass is the fact that it's trying to appeal to casuals, the casual market that isn't going to think too hard about the quality of the games. They're going to think more about, well, I mean, there looks to be a lot of games there, and if any of those games even remotely interest me, it's cheap. It's cheap to gain access, and that's what's going to matter most. But that's not what matters to me. That's never been what's mattered to me. And I'm not saying what I think and what matters to me is what should matter to everybody. Absolutely not. But I'll still make an argument for it. I'll still advocate for it. Absolutely. That's what I'm doing now. For me, what Sony has put first and foremost is, yeah, we're going to ask for a premium price. You're going to get a premium product. What we see with Redfall, and I'm going to have a lot more to say about Redfall tomorrow, but I'll say it here, and I'm going to keep fucking saying it because people need to hear it. They need to hear it. They need to wake up, and they need to realize what we're seeing with Redfall, that is the Game Pass effect. Why Redfall isn't getting delayed, why Microsoft has been completely silent and hasn't said a word, even though the backlash is severe, Game Pass effect. It's more important to get that game, shove it out the door, get it in the Game Pass. And hey, how can people complain? It's only $10 a month. It's only $10 a month. You think this shit would fly? Let me ask you, I'm being serious right now. I'm being dead serious. If Game Pass didn't exist right now, do you think this shit would fly? Because Microsoft would have come out and they would have said, you're gonna have to pay $70 for Redfall if you want it. And you're going to have to wait for a future update for 60 FPS performance mode. Do you really think that Microsoft would be dumb enough to come out here and actually say something like that while simultaneously asking for $70? No, they wouldn't, because they know it's not worth it. It's not worth $70. That's why. And that's exactly why we're seeing what we see. That's why when people look at a game like Spider-Man 2, first-party PlayStation Studio game, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to have this conversation tomorrow. I'm not diving deep into it here. I'm saving it for tomorrow. I have seen people say, well, what are you going to do when Spider-Man 2 is locked at 30 frames? You know what I'll do? Because it's not going to happen, first of all. I would be shocked. Like, seriously, bamboozled if Spider-Man 2 is a 30 FPS game with no 60 FPS performance. Not going to happen. But let's just do a hypothetical thought exercise here. Let's just say it is. You know what I'm going to turn around and say? At least Spider-Man 2 visually justifies itself. A game like Redfall doesn't justify shit. A game like Redfall is laughed at because they're like, how the hell does this game look like this and you can't at least get it at 60 FPS performance? Like, if Redfall was a cutting edge, damn good looking game where it's like, oh my God, now that looks like a CG game. And they said, yeah, this is why the performance mode is going to come out later. People would say, okay, well, that sucks, and we're still annoyed, but that's a damn good-looking game. And you don't see a single Xbox fan saying that right now. You don't. Because they know. You can't say that. The game looks rough, dude. Visually very unimpressive. But that's the thing. Sony doesn't even do that. That's the point. That was a hypothetical scenario. The reality is Spider-Man 2 is going to come out. It's going to take a big dump on Redfall visually while simultaneously saying, and we can do 60 FPS. That's the difference between $70 versus $10 a month for your subscription service. That's the difference. But, the Xbox enthusiasts won't talk about that. MBG's ranting is hyping me up for no apparent reason. Yeah, I don't know, man. I woke up and I chose violence again. Who would have thought? Forspoken was 70. And let me ask you this. How many PlayStation fans have you seen coming out in force? By the way, Forspoken is not a PlayStation first-party game. You know what is a first-party Xbox game? Redfall. But I know people want to make that argument. Well, first off, Forspoken isn't a first-party PlayStation studio. Forspoken did have 60 frames per second. But third, how many people are coming out and defending Forspoken's $70 price tag. Last I checked, the majority of people are looking at Forspoken and saying, I don't know about this one. There are some people who are defending it who genuinely did enjoy the game and felt like it was worth their time and money. But if you look at the general sentiment surrounding Forspoken is, I don't know if that's worth $70. Quality doesn't look quite right. Doesn't look like it's all there. That's what most people are saying. Let me see. Himanshu Yadav, you're saying MBG, your top 3 metal guitarists. Only metal, no rock. Metal. Oh, this is a good one. Well, I gotta say, I like Mark Morton of Lamb of God. Okay. Dimebag Darrell. Gotta put him in there. You got to. Metal guitarist, man. I hate when I'm put on the spot like this, especially when that's not where my mind is focused. You're saying Kirk Hammett? Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So Kirk Hammett's fair. Randy Rhoads. Would that be considered metal? I mean, Eddie Van Halen. I don't know if you can consider that rock. Dave Mustaine. Dave's a Carrie from Slayer. Yeah. I think Kirk Hammett's a good one. I mean, I'll be honest, and I don't, no disrespect to Kirk Hammett. I love Metallica. Yeah, Zakk Wylde. Okay, yeah, Zakk Wylde. He should probably be there. Kirk, though, man, in his younger days, he was something else, man. He was something else. Let me ask you, Sinister Gates, would we count that as metal? Avenged Sevenfold? Sinister Gates is a really talented guitarist. And I'd say Avenged Sevenfold's mostly metal. I mean, they dabbled in other stuff, but I consider them metal. Anyway, I appreciate that little sidetrack there. Mark Tremonti from Ultimate. Yeah, he's good too. All right, let me see. Rari2XX, you're saying, can you give me an example when Sony made a $70 game with no 60 FPS? You can't. This is exactly why Sony said AAA games won't be on PS Plus at launch. Let me think. I am actually trying to think if there is any PlayStation made game, like a first-party PlayStation game without 60 FPS. Yeah, no, you're right. There isn't. I can't think of any. I can't think of a single one. I mean, I think the closest thing that we got to that, but we still didn't, was somebody mentioned like Horizon Forbidden West, like how the performance mode at launch really didn't look that great and it had some issues, but it was still a performance mode. It took a bigger visual hit than maybe we would have liked, but it was still a performance mode. But you're right about that, man. Sony hasn't done something like that. So if anything, what Microsoft is doing with Redfall, ranting aside, it just basically proves that this is Sony's way of, they're making the argument for Sony is what they're doing. That's what they're doing. People have been saying, I got to save this conversation for tomorrow. Remind me to talk about it. I'm sure you won't have to, but we'll talk about the fact that people are basically some people are trying to justify Redfall's 30 FPS by saying that, well, just wait until Sony's games are 30 FPS. I don't know that that's the right argument to be making right now. I don't know that that's the right argument to be making. So thank you, Rari. Matt York, a member for 14 months. If Starfield launches at 30 FPS, can we officially call the end of Xbox? That would be Crackdown 3 levels of terrible. I mean, I don't know if I would call it the end of Xbox. Definitely not. But it's going to be... Dude, I'm sorry. I do not... this is what you're going to see. When it's announced, because it's going to happen. Todd Howard said it himself. Todd Howard said he's perfectly fine with his games at 30 FPS. When you see the announcement that Starfield's going to be 30 FPS on Xbox, the argument you're going to see from all the defenders is, well, it's a big game. Did you see the size and scale of that game? Like, dude, if that's what people want to use to justify it, all I'm going to say is this, and I will point this out when this happens, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen in this exact way. When people come out and defend Starfield for being 30 FPS on the world's most powerful console, the Xbox Series X, I'm going to turn around and say, but that's just it. What about all those GPU compute units that you bragged about? What about the whole RDNA 2 feature set that's supposed to do great, wondrous things for big next-gen games? You see, the argument crumbles underneath its own weight because there is no argument to be had. Microsoft made the claims, the fanboys ran with the claims, and it turns out that it was all BS, because that's the whole thing. This is a next-gen console with next-gen power and a next-gen feature set. So if the argument is, well, Starfield's a big next-gen game, I'm sorry, isn't that exactly... You see what I'm saying? Like, this is exactly what people have been claiming that we're supposed to be waiting for. And the last time I checked, I wasn't supposed to be waiting for 30 FPS greatness. We got 30 FPS greatness last generation on the PS4. Now we're looking forward to 60 FPS greatness and potentially beyond. No offense to anybody who still enjoys the 30 FPS greatness, but that's the point. It's now a choice, as it should be. I'm telling you, man, Microsoft is going to have to rethink their entire marketing strategy with the next Xbox console, because this idea that they're going to be able to come out and talk about power, no, you have to talk about you can talk about anything else except power going forward, in my opinion. I also just want to say, man, and I'm not saying this to take an unnecessary shot at Bethesda, but it's just the truth. Like, dude, I get that Starfield's going to be a big game, but why are people still treating it like it's a big, wide, large scale game with like cutting edge graphics? Like, dude, those graphics are far from cutting edge. They're not like horrible or anything, but they are not. You know what I mean? Like, again, I seriously have to question, like, Starfield visually does not look like a game that could justify itself being 30. Look. Keyword being look. It does not look like a game that could justify itself being 30 frames per second. I have seen people talking about, like, GTA 6 potentially being 30 frames per second. That would suck, dude. Straight up. But again, like, I don't know, man. Are we expecting GTA 6 graphics to look like Starfield's graphics or Redfall's? I'm not. Stephen Jones, you're saying 16 times the detail at 30 FPS. That's what it's going to be, bro. That's what it's going to be. Petite Sneaky 5, you're saying GTA 6 will probably be 30 FPS on the PS5. You better prepare. You better prepare for that, guys. Well, I mean, that would suck. I'll be honest. Like, I would not want to see GTA 6 capped at 30 FPS. That would be very disappointing to me. But that's the thing, is I'll be honest. Like, when I look at how good games like if you look at Red Dead Redemption 2 on the last gen consoles, I don't know how that game looks the way it does. Like, straight up, I don't know how Red Dead Redemption 2 looks as good as it does on last gen consoles, even at 30 frames. It's kind of crazy. So here's the thing. The only trade-off to me that makes 30 FPS acceptable is if the game looks mind-blowingly good. Like, if the game looks like, dude, those graphics are truly next gen, And the trade-off is, well, that comes at a cost. 30 FPS. It still sucks. I still feel like we need to have those 60 FPS performance modes. I just don't see how we can't make that a reality with the current gen consoles. Even if it has to come at a big hit to the fidelity, but it would have to be an extreme circumstance. It really would. Like, the game would have to justify itself. And that's really hard. Like, do you know how good a game would have to look for me to just look at it and be like, oh, I get why that's 30 frames. Yeah, I totally get it. It's going to have to look staggeringly good, like unbelievably good, like real life good. Because something that I've noticed, and again, this is what PlayStation Studios has proven, is they can make games look staggeringly good and still offer a 60 FPS option. Dude, I want to go back and for those who don't remember, go take a look. Go play Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Go look at how good that game looks in fidelity mode. That is a next-gen looking game. That's a next-gen game. Still offers a 60 FPS performance mode that looks nearly as good at 60 FPS. So if Insomniac is doing that with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart right out of the gate in 2021, just imagine what they're going to be doing with Spider-Man 2 in September. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. So my rant took me a bit on a bit of a side quest there. But yeah, guys, it's going to be interesting to see if it's going to be interesting to see how things unfold from this point forward, because I do feel like we've been hearing less about the whole Activision Blizzard thing, which I'm grateful for. Like, this US Senator thing to me is not so much intertwined with the whole Activision Blizzard thing as much as it's just like, why is this even a thing? You're saying Digital Foundry told us to be prepared for 30 frames, just saying. I trust their opinions over all else online. Well, you know what? Yeah, that's a tough one to argue with, because Digital Foundry, they definitely know what they're talking about. And they could be right. But I'll probably reiterate this again tomorrow, but I just want to say that it would be bizarre to me, truly. It would be bizarre to me if, after all this time, this generation with the PS5, Sony have pushed about the options. You have options, right? Graphical options. You can choose. It would be very strange if suddenly Sony was just like, and now you can't choose anymore. There are no more options anymore. It's just 30 FPS. I don't know, man. I'll be honest, the only time I could see Sony doing that is if down the line, Microsoft starts releasing games like Hellblade 2, for example, that look mind-numbingly next-gen. Like, holy shit, this is next-gen graphics. And it's capped at 30 FPS. If Sony felt like, okay, we got to match that, and the only way we can match that is by locking it at 30, I could see them doing that. But then, people are talking about how great Hellblade looks. And Hellblade does look stunning. It looks amazing. But I'm just over here thinking to myself, like, dude, we've been getting games like that on PlayStation for like 10 plus years. Like, this is where it's like, I'm even back as early as the beginning of the PS4. Go back and check. Go back and look at the Order 1886. Now, does the Order 1886 look as good as Hellblade 2? Hell no. I would hope not. But the point is, like, that's what Sony was bringing out at the beginning of the PS4 generation, and it's only gotten substantially better throughout that PS4 generation, and especially now in the PS5 generation. So it's like, I know that a lot of Xbox guys, they latch on to Hellblade 2, and I get that. I would as well. It's a game that you want to prop up, but like, they talk about it like Hellblade 2 is blowing anything Sony's done, anything Sony has out of the water, when I'm like, guys, it looks good, yes, but what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, this is the type of stuff that Sony's been producing, this entire generation so far. Not with every game, but with their bigger AAA games. You know what I mean? So it's weird to me. It's like weird that I don't know. I don't know. Thank you for the super chat, Achilles. I don't know if I said your name right, but thank you. We have Eric Casmiro. Eric Casmiro. I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly. It's like all one word here. I don't know if that's your name, but I apologize if I just butchered it. I sincerely am sorry. But thank you for joining the channel members. Again, I'm going to use this as an opportunity as I'm butchering your names to guys, consider becoming channel members. If you like the MBG rants, if you like the MBG hype or rant show, if you just like my content, please consider becoming a channel member. Consider gifting channel memberships if you are a channel member. We have Aaron Yogurt earlier leading the way with gifting 5 memberships. If you feel inspired, if you feel like you want to help support me at a foundational level, please consider doing that. It really goes a long way. I simply would not be asking you guys to do that if it wasn't as important as it was. Let me see here. Kazuya8088, you're saying, I think Microsoft's Xbox slogan this gen is so unintentionally funny. Power your dreams. The power talk plus new studios, but still waiting for the results. Dude, I gotta admit, that is funny. That's some funny shit right there. Don't power your gaming. Power your dreams. Because that's all they're gonna be, is dreams. By the way, I saw apparently a shout out to JC 2013. Thank you, man. Thank you for gifting a membership. Again, I'm going to use this as an opportunity. I promise I'm not going to always be this redundant. I'm just going to be doing it initially, just, to get people familiarized. If you do not have the ability to be gifted a a membership turned on, go to JC 2013 right now. Click on his notification at the top that he gifted a membership, and you will be able to toggle on the ability to be gifted a membership. And who is actually gifted that membership? Capono 5150. Welcome aboard, man. Thanks to JC 2013. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate it, guys. I just want to say, and I'm not, I saw it was being reported that, Frank O'Connell, I think his name was, another longtime Halo veteran, has left Microsoft, apparently. First, Joseph Staten, Bonnie Ross gone. Now Frank. Dude, I think people are literally out of their fucking minds thinking that Microsoft isn't going to ruin Call of Duty. You're saying Frank needed to go? I don't know. I haven't been following. Whether he's gone or not, like whether it's a good thing or not, maybe it is, which is kind of sad, but a little funny. Halo fans hated that man? Really? I had no idea. Well, maybe this is a good thing then. But I'm just saying, dude, like, I don't know how anybody can look at how Microsoft has handled their studios. I don't know how Microsoft can handle their studios and their IP the way that they have, and how anybody can be confident that Microsoft isn't going to run this shit into the ground. Like, I saw that the new Minecraft game came out. I don't even know what it's called, but a new Minecraft game came out. Dude, the reviews, it's sitting at like a 68 on Metacritic. And the last Minecraft game is sitting at like a 70 or something. It's just like, Microsoft doesn't know how to handle big IP. I don't know if people know that or not. Now, maybe a game like actual Minecraft, yeah, they know how to handle that because all they have to do is nothing. The game is made. People like the game. People are already playing the game. Don't touch it. But then Microsoft's, we'll make our own side Minecraft games. And, I don't know, man. I don't know that was ever needed. But I'm just saying, like, Microsoft doesn't know how to handle big IP. And I'm not, this is just why, like, I am truly perplexed when I see people acting excited for them to get Call of Duty. I'm like, dude, if you are a current Call of Duty fan, I would not be excited. Like, be excited for the deal you're going to get in Game Pass. in Game Pass, but I don't know that I would be excited in that, like, they're going to do great things for Call of Duty. Like, you sure about that? You sure about that? Because I don't recall Microsoft doing great things for any of their IP except one, that being Forza. Meanwhile, when you look at Sony, I don't know, man, their IP is getting bigger and better. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Have I seen the Immortals of Avium trailer? No, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about it. I'm going to have to go check that out. I have to figure out. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce your name. Erica Samiro. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Sometimes I get I'm really terrible with names, but there's just some names that I see sometimes that I feel like I'm really saying it like completely wrong. So you let me know if I'm saying it relatively correctly, Erica Samiro. But with the super chat, you're saying, "Hi MBG, have you seen Lies of P? Bloodborne, it's like Bloodborne, but with a steampunk setting." I have, yes. It does look really promising. This is a studio that I'm not familiar with. I was really sold on Lies of P when I first saw it announced because I was like, this looks a lot like Bloodborne. And that's a game that Microsoft did pay to get into Game Pass, but it is going to get a physical release on PS5. So I think that's a game I'm going to play. It does look really, really good based off of what I've seen. I don't know that it's going to be anywhere near as good as Bloodborne, though, but I like the fact that it's inspired by it. Like you said, it's like Bloodborne, but with a steampunk setting. Plus, on Black, you're saying, what I hate most about Xbox is that it's more of a burden on gaming than helping to innovate it. See, that's the thing here, man. This is why, like, the people who come across my channel or who are on my channel and are like, stop talking about Xbox. Like, no, I'm not going to stop talking about Xbox. Okay, like I would love to stop talking about them. If Xbox was doing what the fuck they should be doing, in my opinion, and not not hindering the gaming industry, sure, I would love to stop talking about them. But I'm sorry, man. Like the people, I'm telling you right now, all the people who wanted to tell me over and over again that Game Pass is not a problem. Okay, Game Pass is not a problem with future games. For future games, and the gaming subscription service is the way to go. I'm telling you, man, they're awfully quiet now with this whole Redfall situation. And there's been this argument, like Microsoft. The reason why I have such an axe to grind with Microsoft, and the reason why it takes up such a large chunk of the conversation here on the channel, even though I am a PlayStation channel, is because, dude, they're the ones giving them, like, causing the most grief for Sony and its fans. Not because of the great things they're doing, but because of the way they're trying to uproot the entire foundation of the industry and paint Sony as the bad, evil guy that's trying to just be greedy and take everybody's money. And I, yes, have felt the need to come out and kind of push back against that and say, the people who are running with that narrative are they couldn't be more wrong. They couldn't be more wrong, okay? And all you need to do is go play some of Sony's games versus go play some of Microsoft's games. Then fucking come back and talk to me. Seriously, like, this is what drives me nuts, man, is the people who are this supportive of Microsoft and and what they're trying to do in the industry, they are so blinded by, gaming for everyone and we're going to just expand and everybody's going to get involved and everything's going to be super cheap. Like they do not understand there is a cost associated with everything. You may not pay it up front, but you and everybody else will pay it on the back end. It will happen. You know who's paying the price right now? I'll tell you who's paying the price right now. Right now, Xbox Series X buyers are paying the price, in my opinion. These are the dudes who said, you know what, Microsoft? I like it. I like it. $500, Xbox Series X, same price as the PS5. Most powerful console, 12 T-flops. Let's go. Got to deal with 30 FPS now. No delay. thanks to Game Pass. You're paying the price. Those of you who bought the Series X. And somebody might say, well, I don't even care about that game. You're missing the point. You're completely missing the point. The Series S is you think the Series S is the issue? It could be. And if that's the case, then they're the ones paying the price at that point. It's just frustrating, man. Because believe it or not, like Plus on Black, I do agree with you. I do agree. Like, people think that what Microsoft is doing is innovative for the industry. Like, buying publishers is innovative. That's going to help this industry. No, that's going to help Microsoft's bottom line, not the industry. If Microsoft wanted to help the industry, you know what? I'll put it here. I'm not going to claim to know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but let me say this. For those out there who think that Microsoft is going to do such great things by buying Microsoft, or Microsoft buying Microsoft, by Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard and owning Call of Duty, I've seen a lot of people basically saying, like, this could be a good thing for Call of Duty, for Activision Blizzard, and it could be, yes. I appreciate the optimism. I do. I really appreciate that. I would want to be optimistic about it as well. But let me ask you, do you think that suddenly Microsoft's going to come in and say, you know what, you guys have been milking Call of Duty and it's gone on for long enough, and it's stale now. It needs some real, it still gets the big numbers, but we need some innovation here. We need Call of Duty to really step it up a notch. Do something different, truly invigorating. You think Microsoft's going to be the one to make that happen? They could be. And I would love it. I'd turn around and I'd say, you know what? That's a genuine surprise. I did not expect that. And if they do that, good on them. Because Activision clearly isn't going to do it on their own. So I hope that's what happens. But you know what I think is going to happen? I have a hunch that what's going to happen is Microsoft is going to buy Activision Blizzard and basically turn to them and say, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to profit off it. Okay? That's what's going to happen. I need somebody to show me what Microsoft has done, truly, to innovate. Like, the most innovative thing that I think Microsoft has done, truthfully, in a while, is probably what they did with their, I forget the name of the controller, but the accessibility controller. Like, that was cool. That was innovative. That was surprising. But outside of that, man, I don't know. They're not innovating with their games. They're not innovating. They're not even in it, dude. They're not even in quick resume. I don't know about that. Microsoft isn't even innovating with Game Pass, dude. They're not. Like, people want to make it sound like it's so innovative, like they're doing day and date. Like, dude, that's not innovation. That's a calculated decision to lose money up front to make more later on. I guess if you want to see that, if you want to view that as innovative. I don't know, man. I don't get it. Let me see. Rigby, you're saying if Bethesda was not Microsoft, you would not be saying this. No, you're right. Because you know what the difference between Bethesda and Microsoft is? Bethesda didn't try to sell everybody on a 12 teraflop world's most powerful console. To be honest, if Bethesda wasn't owned by Microsoft, and they came out and they were like, yeah, this is what's going on with Redfall, I'd be like, damn, that's weak. That's weak as hell. And unfortunate. And then I'd move on. But you see, that's the thing, is it's convenient. Like, people want to talk about Microsoft's ownership of Bethesda only when it's convenient for them. Right? Like, hey, Starfield's exclusive. That's because Microsoft owns Bethesda, and they have every right to make it exclusive. Okay. But suddenly, when the shit hits the fan, and turns out that Microsoft buying Bethesda meant that they also inherited all of Bethesda's problems, this being one of them. Suddenly it's, well, we can't blame Xbox for that. It's not their fault. No, it is. It is their fault. Just like if Microsoft or if Sony screws something up with Bungie, yeah, that's Sony's fault. I don't care how independent Bungie is. Sony owns them. The buck stops with Sony. MBG, do you think we'll see a bundled PS5 Slim with Spider-Man 2? I think we could. Barnabas, you're saying I would have pre-ordered Diablo 4, but Blizzard selling out to Microsoft cost them my pre-order. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, man. I mean, I think that's that's a tough thing to do. I don't know that it's going to matter, to be honest. Like, I think Diablo 4 is probably going to do fine, But I appreciate you, sticking to the principle of the matter. People got to make their own decisions. Yeah, I don't know, man. I find it very strange the way people are advocating for massive industry consolidation. Like, I understand that it's probably going to happen regardless, but still concerning. Still concerning nonetheless. Chris B, you're saying GameFly has day and date better than Game Pass, LOL. Yeah, you're right about that. That's crazy to think, isn't it? I don't know. To be honest, I'm not too familiar with GameFly. I'm surprised they're still around, dude. I don't know, I don't know exactly how their business works at this point. But I guess I'm assuming they're still around. Man, GameFly, I haven't heard about them in a long time. GameFly. They have been around for a long time, dude. Rigby, you're saying, but you're not saying it's convenient for you to crap on Microsoft, because if these games were successful, would state Microsoft doesn't get credit. No, that's where you're wrong, dude. I want to make it clear. Dude, look, I talked about this, Rigby, and I made it clear that that's not the case. If Starfield is amazing and does amazingly well, I give Microsoft credit for that. This is how it's going to work going forward. It has to, because this is the only way it can work. I'm not playing these games anymore with people or the internet. I'm not moving the fucking goalposts. Okay? Whoever Microsoft or Sony buys, it's theirs. Period. End of discussion. So when something does incredibly well, they're responsible for it. When something does incredibly bad, they're responsible for it. I'm not making excuses anymore, and I'm not cherry picking anymore, and neither should anybody else. This is the way it should be going forward with everything. If Sony bought Square Enix and then Square Enix went to shit, that's Sony's fault. That's Sony's fault. That's how it's going to be. That's how it has to be, because this is going to continue. That's what I realized. You're right. I will admit, you are right to an extent where at times I've always found myself like, I'm not sure, like, do we give credit to Sony for Spider-Man, or how's this work? And I realize, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, like, if they buy it and they own it, they're responsible for it. If they buy it but they don't own it, they're influencing it. To me, that's the golden rule of thumb at this point, right? That is, if they buy it and they own it, they're 100% responsible for it. If they pay for it but don't own it, they influence it. That's how I view it. Just like Final Fantasy 16, Sony doesn't own them. Sony's not, responsible for that game's creation or development, but they influenced it. And they influenced it to a degree. Even apparently, like they said, here's some of our engineers. They'll help out with optimization. That's not like they didn't make the game, but they're influencing the development of that game. So, and that'll go forward, dude. Like Hellblade 2, when Hellblade 2 comes out, if that game's like a 10 out of 10, 95 on Metacritic, I will give Microsoft credit for that. You will see people come out and say Microsoft isn't responsible for that. No, Microsoft is responsible for that if that happens. But that, you see, this is where the reason why I am saying in my opinion, it's important to look at it this way is because I think with this line of thinking, we're going to see the difference. We're going to see the difference. My thoughts on Ubisoft Plus on Xbox. Ubisoft games are day and date on Xbox now. Are they? I didn't know that. That's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. But I haven't been looking into it too much. Yeah, dude, Microsoft, I will admit, like, they're making the right moves with their service. getting Ubisoft involved. $18. Okay, so it does go up a little bit. 18 bucks is definitely, that's almost double. That's almost double the Game Pass price. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on how much you care about Ubisoft games. If you really are a fan of Ubisoft games and Microsoft games, then probably a pretty decent deal for you. The Furious, you're saying pressure should be on Microsoft for buying senators, corruption. I'm telling you, dude, no one's gonna talk about that. No one's gonna talk. I'm telling you, dude, no one's gonna talk about that. No one's gonna talk about it. I'm probably the only one that's gonna talk about it and call it for what it is. Like it's these politicians are being paid for by Microsoft. It's clear as day. I do not understand the individuals on the internet who bitch at Sony for signing exclusivity deals while simultaneously saying it's totally fine for Microsoft to be buying publishers. Like you do see the difference in that, right? Like you're basically saying like one company should be told what it is or isn't allowed to do with its money. Right? Like one company should be told what it is or isn't allowed to do with its money. The other company should be allowed to do whatever it wants. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. If you're somebody who is totally okay with Microsoft paying as however much money they want to buy as many publishers as they want to do what they want with their money, then you have to be okay. You have to be okay with Sony doing the same thing. And people try to get into the they get into the semantics of it, where it's like, well, technically, because Sony doesn't own it. It's like, dude, I don't want to hear about the technicalities. Okay, I want to hear about it, as you guys always say, like from the consumer level. And this is where I will always say over and over again, from the consumer level, there is no difference. There is no difference. And I'm tired of people trying to make it seem that there is. There is simply not. It does not matter. Literally, like right now, like that state of play we just got from Final Fantasy 16. That's a PS5 exclusive. It makes no damn difference in the world to an onlooker whether Sony owns that game or not, whether Sony owns the Final Fantasy IP or not. It matters to the people who are trying to construct their one-sided arguments. So what these senators should do, and what all these people on the internet should do who are on Sony's ass constantly these days about third-party deals, go question Microsoft. Go ask Microsoft to talk about their third-party deals that still exist, that still happen. But because they're not big AAA games, well, I guess it's just not the same, is it? Yeah, it's never the same. It's never the same. Not when it's one-sided. Nothing can ever be the same. But you know what? I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I'm just one dude here ranting and raving and talking. Sonny, you're saying, MBG, how do I become a channel member? There should be a join button. I don't know if you're on desktop or mobile, but there should be a join button that lets you become a channel member. It's worth noting that I don't think channel memberships are available in every country. I think there are some countries where it's still unavailable, unfortunately. So if it's nowhere to be seen, if you don't see a join button and it's not giving you the option, it might not be available where you're at. You're in the US. It should be there then, man. There should be a join button. If you check the description of this video or this stream or any videos I have, I do have a link that goes directly to my memberships. So yeah, that option definitely should be available. But, I just want to end this by saying, I want to end this by saying that I'm just one dude here, obviously, just ranting and raving, giving my thoughts and opinions, getting heated here on my channel on the internet. But I think at the end of the day, and I don't think anybody could disagree with this, right? I think at the end of the day, we're just going to watch together how these things play out. And I think that the proof will just simply be in the pudding, right? So to speak. I could sit here and say everything I want about Microsoft. I can make all the claims, same thing about Sony. But at the end of the day, we're going to see how it plays out. And I think this is just why I've been really kind of I felt so inclined to really go off about Microsoft and Xbox this past week, specifically with the whole Redfall thing, because it to me it's not about 30 frames per second. It's about everything it represents and everything I've been trying to tell people for a long time, where it's like I just don't want people to fall for something and then witness the negative ramifications that occur across, like a ripple effect across the video game industry. And in my opinion, what we're seeing with Redfall is like the first real evidence of like, and it's beginning. And now we're witnessing it. And that's why I am genuinely happy to see that people are willing, even the most hardcore Xbox fans, not all of them, but a lot of them are willing to come out and criticize and push back and maybe finally wake up a little bit and realize that all this time you've been spending bitching at Sony for trying to be a profitable company and just doing what they're doing with their market share because they're number one, because people like their products, you need to turn to Microsoft and realize that you're paying a price. You are paying. Microsoft is asking you to pay a price, and it's not just the $10 to subscribe to Game Pass. That's all I want people to do. I want them to wake up and realize that nothing is free. Everything comes with a price. If something is truly worth it, you're not going to get it at a discount. You're not going to get it for free. You're not going to, if it sounds too good to be true, it's because it absolutely is, especially when you're dealing with multi-billion, multi-trillion dollar corporations. Saying it sounds like fear-mongering, it's not fear-mongering, dude. It's really not. If it was fear-mongering, then there would be no proof. But that's actually the sad reality, is there's copious amounts of proof that what I'm saying is true. So, not just about Microsoft, by the way, about all big businesses, big corporations. And Wayne, to close it out, you're saying if Microsoft comes out with Starfield 30 FPS, it's over. I mean, to a certain degree, I agree. The console war at that point is over. For sure. All right, guys. So, this was basically the first episode of Hype or Rant with MBG, and definitely a lot of ranting. To be honest, I'm hoping that going forward, if I continue this show and it continues to get a good amount of support, I'm hoping that I can basically start to do more hyping and less ranting. But it really depends on what's happening each day, each week. And so if you're just like tuning in, you might want to come back and watch the earlier parts of the stream to get an idea of what this new format is. And so what you're going to see today, guys, is you're going to see another video go up, and that video is going to be like the first 15 minutes. It'll be edited, of course. It'll be edited and tweaked, but it'll basically be the first 15 minutes where I was just going over the news, and that'll just be my catered, concise news video for those who are subscribed to the channel just for the news and not necessarily for MBG's rants or diving deep into different topics. And we'll see how that format works out. And I want to say one last time before ending the stream, I couldn't do what I do here without your support, guys. I think we have an awesome community here. More importantly, though, I think this community has a ton more potential. I think that we can continue to grow at a relatively substantial rate. And that's obviously what I'm trying to facilitate here. So we gained a few new members today. Again, one last time, not to sound like a broken record, if you're listening to this after the fact, it's not live, consider becoming a channel member. Continue to think about maybe, gifting some channel memberships. And a huge thank you to everybody who has. A huge thank you to everybody who has donated a super chat. I really, really am honored to be able to do this and do it as frequently as I do it and in the way that I do it. So you guys make that a reality, and I am forever grateful and sincerely thankful for that. So that does it. Hit that like button on your way out, guys. Just one last thing to mention. I will be doing the podcast tomorrow. So if you want to continue to hang out with me and talk about things, we're going to be talking about different topics that we talked about today, mostly. So tune into that. I'll catch you guys later. Look forward to my video, and that's it. Take care, everyone.